Greetings. This is Positivologist Lynette Turner, and welcome to the Positivologist is in the house. So come on in, grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, have a seat in your favorite chair on your favorite couch, and join me. If you want to reach me after the show, you can connect at www.positivebliss.com. So this is this internet TV show that focuses on living our lives from a perspective of positivity. We all have challenges and issues that we have to deal with, but we can always do that from a very positive perspective. So I love having guests on the show who share their varied expertise on a variety of topics that can play a role in us living a more grounded, positive, proactive, productive life. And tonight I'm very excited to have Reverend Lisa Graham with me. So Lisa, I see you out there. So people might notice Lisa looks like she's heavenly in a way. We're waiting for her camera to adjust a little bit. For some reason she's sort of in black and white, but you know what? Her aura is shining through.
Right.
No matter what the fuzziness of the camera. You know, technology, you never quite know what's going to happen. So delighted to have you. Lisa is a woman extraordinaire, and she's going to talk about all the various things she does. She's a licensed acupuncture physician. She is a certified Chinese herbalist. She is a interfaith interspiritual minister. She's many, many things. And she's going to help us really get a pulse on some ways we can live a healthier lifestyle. And I'm always open to learning, and so I'm delighted to have her. And she's just an amazing, really awesome, down-to-earth person. So that's really cool too. So welcome aboard.
Thank you, Lynette.
And I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes to just tell the viewers a little bit about you. So give us a sense of who Lisa is, and we're going to talk a bit about what you do, but just give us some context for you.
Okay, sounds good. Got my tea. Got my awesome 1970s headphones. I feel like I'm about to listen to some 8-track, Great. I'm all ready to go. Yes, I'm so happy to be here, Lynette. This is really great. A little bit about me. As you said, I'm a licensed acupuncturist, licensed acupuncture physician, also a board-certified herbalist. I started my journey as a young woman. I came from a not-so-great family situation. My mother died very young. And I feel like my journey has been a process of going through the mind, the body, and the spirit to now, as a healing practitioner, be able to address those different aspects in the people that I help. So I began with the mind, which is I was a lawyer for 7 years. Then I moved into the body, which was getting my degree, my master's degree in Chinese medicine. And then the spirit, of course, was I felt drawn to study aspects of spirituality, and then went ahead and got ordained as an interfaith, interspiritual minister, as well as studying chaplaincy and doing end-of-life work. So that's it in a nutshell. I feel like a lot of healers end up sort of have a lotus story. Mm-hmm. I like to share this, about the lotus story.
Yeah,
I certainly have a lotus story. The lotus is a Buddhist symbol. It's a beautiful flower, as many people know. And it grows out of the muck. It literally grows out of the muck. Its roots are just in this disgusting muck. And I think of that as the issues that we have, the challenges that we have, the dark times that we have in our lives. And then out of that muck grows this beautiful flower and is able to actually shine and help others grow out of their own muck. And, sometimes I'm still back in that muck, but luckily, through my journey, most of the time I'm not in the muck anymore, and I can help others I like to get them out of the muck.
Yeah. I love that you can see yourself as the beautiful flower that you are. I mean, that's inspiring for other people, for all of us to remember that we all have that beauty within us, right?
Absolutely.
And we all have the ability to help other people and to help ourselves and do self-healing, which is why I'm really excited to talk about some of the things we're going to talk about tonight.
Great.
So you're an acupuncturist, you're an herbalist, you're an energy healer, and acupuncture is part of traditional Chinese medicine, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Traditional Chinese medicine is sort of the overarching system of medicine. It's thousands of years old. It's used on billions of people for thousands of years. And its pillars are acupuncture, which most people by this time have heard of. Also Chinese herbal medicine. We do a couple other fun things like massage, We burn something called moxa, which is another therapy. It smells like pot, but it's not pot, I promise.
Is that like in a stick that looks like charcoal?
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I've had it used on me. It's amazing how well it works.
It's amazing. And also, we also do nutritional counseling and lifestyle counseling as part of Chinese medicine. And acupuncture is just part of Chinese medicine. It just seems to be the most popular aspect of it these days in America.
Right. So before we jump into talking more, tell people how they can reach you, and we'll do this again at the end in case people want to connect with you and work with you.
That would be great. I have a website. It's www.integralbodymindspirit.com. So that's integralbodymindspirit.com. Little long. That's the best way. Yeah.
People can get it. People got it. Okay, so let's start by having you talk about some of the main underlying principles of traditional Chinese medicine.
Well, I fell in love with it because of these principles. It's a great question. Many people, when I was a practicing lawyer and they found out I was going back to school, said, why don't you just go to medical school? And at the time, in particular, before Western medicine is now becoming more integrated, but at the time, I didn't feel drawn to it because it didn't cover different aspects of being a human being. To me, it was very isolating and linear. And it didn't do what Chinese medicine does, which its tenets are that you treat the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. They're all interconnected. They all relate to each other and affect each other. Also, Chinese medicine is very much about you healing you. I'm just using modalities to remind you how to heal you. It's very different than the Western modality, which is I'm giving you this pill, I'm healing you. Right. I don't heal anybody. All I do is remind you using different methods of how to heal yourself. We're all self-healers, beautifully self-healers.
And that's very empowering, I would think, for people to realize that we can play an active role in our healing versus turning it over to somebody else who is the expert and is supposed to know everything. And
I don't think that works. I don't think that ever works. It might work short term because we believe in those modalities, but for long-term true healing, I believe that you're doing it yourself. Every individual, yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems like, I mean, for many years, I've been a fan of acupuncture for a long time. I'm not afraid of those needles.
Oh, yeah. I have one here if you'd like to see it.
Although on occasion I have forgotten it was in and like moved the wrong way. There's going to be a tiny bit of an ouch. But tell our viewers, in case there's some people out there, what is acupuncture?
Okay.
Yeah, what is it?
I guess the easiest way to explain it is the use of very thin sterile needles, and I do have a few here. They're so little you can't even see them, right? You're just seeing the caps here.
Yeah.
And they're inserted into different areas of the body. They're called acupuncture points, to affect physiological change, which also affects all three levels, the mind, the body, and the spirit. And the way we decide where they go depends on your presentation. So you might come in and another person comes in and you have a different presentation, you have different things going on, and I'm going to choose based on your presentation how you get treated. And that's the basis.
Lisa, when you say presentation, what does that mean? Does that mean what our ailment is, or what does that
That's
mean?
one of them. That's one of them. However, you could have a headache, and my friend here could have a headache, and you will get treated differently because those headaches are in different places. You have different underlying constitutions. There's all sorts of reasons why that we use to determine how you're going to get treated. So it's not one size fits all, and that's another really important tenet of Chinese medicine. It is not one size fits all. It's very tailored for the person, the individual, and which is why you can't patent it and you can't mass produce it. It's a very individualized relationship of healing.
So, I mean, does it take long to be trained to do this? It seems so technical and specific. I mean, you have to really know where to put those needles.
I would hope so. I wouldn't just let anyone do it to me. Actually, in America, pretty much every state licensed this now, and it's a master's degree level. There are some schools across the country who are moving to a doctorate entry level for the profession, but basically now everyone needs to get a master's in Chinese medicine to get licensed in their state. That is almost all states. There's a few outliers that kind of still don't license it, but most states are regulating it, making you do continuing education, making sure you have the correct board exams and you have the right education. It's accredited schools. It's not sort of pop-ups. It's established now.
Right.
Okay. So it's 3 to 4 years to study.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. So we know there's qualified people out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Treating us and helping us. And
well, there's a way you can check, actually, if you want to know. If you want to know if your practitioner is board certified or if they are properly licensed, there's a website you can check. Either your state, your state medical license. Literally, you can look them up on the state medical license board, or you can look it up on a different website.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lisa, I'm telling you, we can still hear you, and you still look other earthly.
Oh, I'm ethereal.
But you know what? This is what we call, as we talked about the other day. We go with the flow.
That's right. I know a lot of it's because I'm really white and I'm like reflecting all the lights. I mean,
it might be part of it, but it doesn't matter because your aura shines through, so it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
So, Lisa, tell us some of the conditions that can be served well by acupuncture.
That's a very good question. If I get hit by a car, I probably would not go to my acupuncturist. I mean,
let's be logical here, right?
Right. However, so for acute matters, I still oftentimes will go to a Western doctor. However, for chronic diseases, which is the majority of the America's problem, is by far chronic diseases. Chinese medicine is, I believe, and have seen it to be superior. Partly because it goes to the root of the problem and not just addressing the symptoms. So I believe there's a purpose for both medical worlds, and they need to work together. But for chronic disease and for prevention, Chinese medicine actually works better. So I see a lot of pain. Of course, people think of acupuncture for pain, but I also see a lot of headaches, fibromyalgia, depression, anxiety, women's issues in terms of people wanting to get pregnant. We are tremendously successful regulating cycles and allowing people to either have less difficult cycles or allow them to get pregnant or get through menopause without suffering. You really don't need to suffer through menopause. It's sort of this cultural fiction that you do. You don't. Right. And so those are the main things. However, we also do get some weird kind of off-the-wall things, which we, of course, can treat anything pretty much. Right. I know you're a dream therapist. That's right, right?
Yeah.
So I have had a patient who, sometimes we get people who go to their Western doctor and they just have given up. There's nothing that can be done, and I'm the last resort.
Right.
I say, okay, I'll try.
What have I got to lose? I've tried everything else. Let me go to this person who's...
There's this crazy lady, So I had a gentleman who had gone to his Western doctor. He was only 30. He was, this is a little, technical or graphic or whatever, but he was basically urinating all the time. He had to go to the bathroom every hour. He couldn't sleep through the night, and he just couldn't. So his Western doctor gave up and said, I can't find anything wrong. I'll put you on birth control pills. This might work. And he said, no. I don't think so. So he came to me, and so what happened was in about 6 sessions and herbal medicine, he was significantly better. But the interesting thing that I think you might like was he had a dream. And he came to me and he said, I had this dream, Lisa. I had a dream that I woke up in the middle of the night and I urinated goldfish into the toilet bowl. And I said, okay. And he said, but I don't know what it means, but I think it means that we should keep working together. And I said, okay. And I looked up goldfish, and I know that symbolism is really person-specific, or I understand that.
Right.
I don't know what you might think of that dream, but anyway, he got better. And he is, living his life without going to the bathroom every hour now. And it was just interesting because I felt like maybe it was his higher self telling him, keep working with this woman even though you don't really believe in Chinese medicine.
Yeah, or just like sort of a sense of freedom. There's also, as you know, there's lots of discussion in detail when you're trying to figure out a dream, but just the goldfish and the water and swimming and freedom and releasing. I think, I think
we should have called you.
There you go. we can work together. So that's very interesting. Do you have a couple of other examples of what I call like mystery illnesses or mystery?
I have one. It's less sort of mysterious and exotic, but I have a gentleman who I have come to really care about, and he and his wife have seen me for a while, and he only came because his liver enzymes were very elevated. And this is a sign that there's something going on with his detox system. In Chinese medicine, I look at that and I think this guy is super stressed out because there was nothing else wrong with him. They did liver CAT scans, they looked at everything Western, and they sort of said to him, we don't know what this is. So at his wife's loving dragging, he came in to see me, And I worked with him, and through coaching and also acupuncture, his liver enzymes went down. They've been down, and he still comes in for maintenance. And so his liver is no longer stressed. So that is something that it shows the preventative aspect of Chinese medicine, because if he didn't do anything, eventually his liver, he might, who knows what would happen, because detoxification is extremely important. Right, for all body functions.
There's a question I was going to ask that you touched on. You said he had come on a regular basis. Do people just come once and they're fine, or do people have to come several times? Or does it depend? How does that work?
It's funny. I would say most of the time it's a relationship, and the relationship builds over time, and there's trust. It really depends. I had one gentleman who was very young who had horrible back pain, couldn't even move, couldn't get up. One treatment and he was fine. But I believe that was more about what I brought to the surface with him in terms of his consciousness and him understanding what's going on in his life, as opposed to the needles. Other times, I might just work only on the physical level with somebody, or on the physical, mental, and spiritual level as well. And there may be a series. The gentleman with the goldfish pee, for lack of a better word, he was about 6 weeks. But ideally, Chinese medicine is about prevention. So if you are in good health, you can come in. It's like your car. Do you take your car in to get maintained?
Tune up your body. Tune up your body.
We're supposed to. Yeah. Right. And we do it regularly, regular maintenance, but we don't do that with ourselves, and that's a shame.
I dare say some people probably take better care of their cars than they take care of themselves.
I think you're right, especially in Miami.
Yeah, we should say that Dr. Lisa practices in Florida and in Connecticut. She is bi-coastal, and who knows where else we might find her.
I'm actually going to be in Miami now, pretty exclusively. Yeah.
But acupuncture can work long distance, or your healing work can work long distance, right? I know people do long distance Reiki. I do long distance Reiki. You're able to help your clients in some ways from a distance, right?
I do Skype sort of counseling sessions, or life companioning sessions, and that is my distance healing that I currently do now. So I'll be having discussions with people, and the key there is to sort of allow them to hear themselves and ask appropriate questions, to allow them to figure out what's going on and to make appropriate change.
Right.
And it's amazing what it does.
I believe it. So I have a feeling you have all the training in the background, but I also have a feeling that you're highly intuitive. So do you connect with that intuitive ability in conjunction with the knowledge that you have from your training to work with people?
I do. It isn't always with every client. There has to be a level of understanding and trust. I've sort of learned the hard way that you don't want to freak people out when you get sort of impressions that are not touchable. But I definitely do occasionally. Yeah.
So how common would you say acupuncture is? So over the years, have you seen it grow in terms of people coming to see you? Do kids come? What's the sort of flow like?
There are people that treat kids a lot. It's really great for kids because they get better so much faster than adults. Mm-hmm. I don't see a lot of children. I like working with adolescents and adults the most. It's extremely common now. It's funny because when I first went to school, it was sort of still a little bit weird and woo-woo, but now I just spent some time working at Morristown Hospital, doing acupuncture there, and that's one of the biggest health systems in the Northeast and one of the highest ranked, Atlantic Health. So it's now at MD Anderson, the big cancer center. It's at Sinai in Manhattan, Columbia Presbyterian. So it is being used in certain areas in the best institutions in America now, at the highest levels. And the VA system, the Veterans Administration system, is now instituting acupuncture in its hospitals. Thank God, because veterans could totally use it. It's wonderful, wonderful that's happening. And the World Health Organization has years ago endorsed it for about 40 ailments. A cheap way to address at least 40 different things. We have evidence it works for these 40 things. It probably works for other stuff, but for these 40 things we know it does, so go for it. And then it's the most commonly prescribed non-Western modality by physicians. So it's the most common thing. A physician might not say, let's go do Reiki, although the physician might believe in it, might understand its value, but more likely to say, go try acupuncture, because it's just become much more sort of acceptable in the Western. Yeah.
Right. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
A healthier, happier we. people.
That's what we're trying. That's what we're trying for.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's about time.
It is about time, and we need it. We are a culture that is so stressed. I was talking about somebody with this today. I had jury duty yesterday, so I was in a room with a bunch of people all day talking about all sorts of things.
That's stressful.
And we were talking about what a stressed culture we live in. You know, people are in a hurry, gotta do this, gotta do that. People are cutting you off on the highway, and it's just like, you turn on the news and there's so much bad news every time you turn it on. What can we do to de-stress? What can we do to help ourselves? So I know the answer to the next question, but I'm going to ask it for people who might wonder, is acupuncture safe? I mean, I know it's got to be safe, but I think people might ask you that. You're sticking needles in you, and, how would you address someone who was like, they were a little bit cautious, they wanted to do it, but they asked that question maybe, is it safe?
You definitely do get that question once in a while. It is very, very safe. The lawyer in me likes to quote that my malpractice insurance is really cheap. And so if you understand that those rates are driven by risk out in the world, you understand that that is proof in itself that it's very, very safe. I mean, it's very hard to hurt somebody with acupuncture. I mean, I guess I could, but, the needles are so fine. They're nothing like getting a shot. They're not hollow. So they really, lots of times you don't feel them at all. Sometimes I kind of want you to feel them a little bit, but it's after a little tiny prick, you really shouldn't hopefully feel too much. It just depends. But the needles are really small. Now, there are rare occasions where there are problems, but I have to tell you, it's usually not by licensed acupuncturists. It's by other healthcare workers that are using the needles and they don't have the same training. And that's kind of proven. Yeah. So you want to make sure that the person you're using is clean needle technique trained, certified. That's another test you have to go through to make sure that you know how to dispose of the needles properly. You only use them once. Nobody's reusing needles anymore. They're single use. They go in a Sharps container. And so, it's very safe. It's safer than going to the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the statistics sometimes that you hear about when people go to the hospital and they come out sicker than they went in, or they don't come out at all. I mean, it's very scary. But it's interesting you said something about, how most of the time you don't really feel them. And that's been the case when I've gone. And I just realized that's very interesting because when I go to get a regular shot, like I have to get blood drawn or something, or whenever I've gone to Africa, you have to go get all these shots. I just have this, I don't know, something bad in a past life must have happened with needles because I have to look the other way and hyperventilating. I just don't like needles, but I don't have any of that fear or tension when it comes to acupuncture.
Well, that's really great. I mean, that's really, really great. And some people are more sensitive to them than others. I have a patient who, no matter what I do, I can use the thinnest needles on the planet. She will be just ouching the whole time. And, I have to really watch her and make sure that she's okay. A lot of people don't feel them at all.
Right.
Some of them, I want you to feel like maybe a shooting sensation down the limb, or one of the points on your leg. When I do it, most of the time, people's stomach will growl because it energetically goes to the digestive system. So there's stuff you want that is good that it happens, but if you're in pain, get another acupuncturist. Right. It's just, it's not.
There are different sizes of needles because I think my acupuncturist, I thought that there's a couple different sizes of needles, or am I making that up?
No, you're not making it up.
Okay.
There's lots of different sizes, and if you're very sensitive, we can go really thin. It also depends on what's going on. If you have a really bad muscle injury, let's say, we might need to use slightly larger needles to get the blood perfusion to the area to hasten the healing. It really depends on what's going on. I'm not a big needle person. I don't like hurting people. I just, it's about relaxation.
That's your new tagline. I don't like hurting people. Come see me.
Okay.
I don't like hurting people. So I'm going to...
Not about pain, honey.
No pain. Yeah, I'm not one of those no pain, no gain thing. I just really don't really like or need the pain. So I want to switch gears for a few minutes here and talk about, you're an herbalist as well.
Oh, yes.
I'm fascinated by that. I often think about how, in Western medicine you go, and we talked about they give you pills, they do this and do that, but, a long time ago, we just used herbs from the earth, from the ground. Mother Earth was there to help heal us. And I'm fascinated by what you put together and how it can, and just talking regular conversation, at the seminary school, I'm fascinated by that. So maybe you can tell our viewers what an herbalist is and what you do as being an herbalist.
Okay. I'm a Chinese herbalist. So as part of my training, I went ahead and did a different module so that I would get board certified as a Chinese herbalist. There are over 300 that we learn, all the different properties of them. Chinese medicine doesn't use herbs singly. Very rarely will you get one herb. They're all used in formulas or variations of formulas that have been used for thousands of years and were written in books a long, long time ago. Mm-hmm. And we change different herbs depending on the presentation. So some of these herbs are going to be familiar to you. A lot of them are, actually. Licorice, cinnamon. We use a lot of things that people think of as turmeric. These are all herbs that we use that are foods. But some of them are a little funkier, like frankincense and myrrh are often used together to stop bleeding and to heal. And so I always like to think about them as sort of like the Jesus herbs because of the biblical story, when the men from the East, which of course was China or Asia, came to, this is of course in the Christian tradition, came to the birth of Christ, and they gave gold, which is of course money, frankincense and myrrh. Those two herbs together stop bleeding. So I personally think they were for Mary.
I like that.
So I'm not a Western herbalist. Sometimes people come up and say,
you are a scholar and a historian as well.
Oh well, that's what herbs are about. And you say the difference between pills and herbs. It's interesting because about 70% of all patented pharmaceuticals originally come from plants or something living. So what's happened is really that we've taken some active ingredients out of plants and out of living things, patented them so they can be mass-produced and mass-tested, and then sold them. So it's really about this institutionalized production of medications to standardize them.
But Lisa, it doesn't, when they westernize it that way, it doesn't always help us and heal us in the same way, right?
It doesn't help us in the same way. I mean, some of them are exactly, like willow bark is where aspirin comes from. So we used to take willow bark and make a tea out of it and drink it for pain, for inflammation, and other phytochemicals or chemicals in the plant that are also in willow bark protected our stomach. But if you take the same ingredients out and put it in aspirin, and you take it too much, you're going to kill your stomach. So you're taking a lot of the protectants out. Right. However, it's stronger, right? Willow bark is not going to work as fast. It's going to be weaker. It's going to be less damaging, but it's not. So you kind of play this. There's this play between, do you want it to work fast and kind of have a lot of side effects, or do you want it to work more naturally with your body and maybe take longer and get to the root of the problem? So there's room for both. Honestly, I'm not. It just depends. It shouldn't be indiscriminately either way.
Right. I mean, I'm sure everybody's different, so there could be some kind of side effects here or there, but I can't imagine it's anything like when you see almost any Western medicine.
Those ads.
It's like, take this for asthma, but you might go blind, you won't be able to hear, your left foot will fall off.
Right? You'll never have children.
I know.
You won't reach 50. It won't go away. It won't go away. You'll just be able to breathe for a short period of time. It will not go away because it's about the symptoms.
Well, because then the pharmaceutical people won't have a job. It's just fascinating to me. So what are some of the different ways that the herbs can be given? I guess they can be in drops, or are they ever, still in the powder form, or what are the different?
Yeah, well, in school we do it with the sticks and the berries, and so you're actually learning the plants and learning the roots and working. And in China they do that a lot as well. In the hospitals they have side-by-side Western pharmaceuticals with actual, literally a pharmacy with a bunch of plants that they put together, and then they make it into a tea, you do it at home and you drink it. What I like to do is I like to use companies that I know are very careful to make sure that the ingredients are pure and don't have contaminants. Because I know that you hear in the news that some of these companies that sell herbs in pill form, for example, are contaminated with things, and I like to use certain companies that I trust more. It tends to cost a little bit more, but so I like to use pills because they're the easiest. But with Goldfish Pea Man, I actually, because his president, I don't know.
I think I'm always going to just remember that image.
He was a lovely human being, and I was happy to help him. But I gave him granules, which is a powdered form. And the reason I did that for him is because his presentation was more serious. And I was able to create a formula just for him using, here's one herb, the powder, here's another herb, the powder, and I mix them up in a proportion that's based on a classic formula but tailored for him. There's also people that say have a nightshade allergy, and a couple of our herbs are nightshades. So I need to be able to make a formula for that person that doesn't have those elements in it. And in that sense, I need to do it individually. But for most people, for the most part, the pills are the easiest. We're used to it. I don't like forcing things down people's throats, literally, figuratively, if they don't want it. And I would just want them to get better. Right. So I tend to use the pills. Yeah.
So, Lisa, is it reasonably cost effective for people to use herbs? I mean,
yeah. Right? I know. It just depends. The thing is that, if your pharmaceuticals are covered by insurance, you're awfully tempted to go that way. Yeah. I know I would be. And so that the disconnect between, coverage and not coverage and, well, but it's covered, so I want to take this, but if someone really cares about their health, they don't really care that much. Right. And you might spend $25 to $70 or $80 a month on your herbal therapies, depending. But, people spend way more than that in supplements.
Yeah, I mean, if it, helps you feel better and helps your health, I would think that would be, just don't go out and buy a couple cups of coffee, which each costs $5 a coffee cup, and use it on being healthier.
Yeah. It's just about priorities, right?
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, so that's probably, I could give up my sugar, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Oh. Sugar thing, right?
You like sugar thing.
Yeah.
Talk a bit about, I know you're also an energy healer. As I told the viewer, she is many, many things, and I can see how they all are connected and work together. So how would you describe yourself as an energy healer, and how do you use those skills and talents to help heal people? Or help them learn how to heal themselves, or a combination of the two?
I'm so glad that you corrected that, because I don't heal people. I call myself a healer.
I remember what you said at the beginning of the show.
It's all about empowerment, right?
Yeah.
Very much about we are so lucky in this culture to be able to really to create our lives for the first time in history, which is part of this evolution, right? We are at a point in time where a lot of people on the planet can create their own lives, and so it's the reality is we are empowered and we can heal ourselves. So yes, acupuncture is technically an energy medicine. We don't talk about it that way because we want it to be accepted by the mainstream world. But I am affecting tissue, hormone, neurotransmitter, serotonin, dopamines by putting the needles in. But there's also an energetic transmission that happens when I do that. So to me, it's again body, mind, spirit with the acupuncture. I also am a Reiki practitioner. However, I have an interesting theory. I don't really focus that much on the fact that I'm a Reiki practitioner because to me that's just a name for the same healing that any healer that uses hands-on or energy healing. It's just the same thing. That's what some people call it, and that was my particular mode of training. So I'll do channeling of energy while people are on the table. Occasionally, depending on what's going on. I also, if people are open to it, will do meditations, prayers to help people focus and get into the right state for their healing. Now, bodies don't heal if they're stressed out, right? So we have to do things to calm people down and get exactly.
Breathing is a really beautiful thing if we remember to do it.
Yeah, I should do it too. Wait, let's just breathe.
Yeah, let's do it together and let everybody out there watching just all breathe together.
It's great.
It's incredible just how healing just breathing can be, because I find so often we're just like short, shallow breaths because we're rushing, and just amazing when we stop and take 5 deep breaths, just how relaxing and healing it can be just to breathe.
You're absolutely 100% right. I was reading recently that I think the bottom third of your lungs has the most oxygen exchange. And so most of us, when we're stressed out, we breathe like you said.
Yeah.
Up here. And if someone scares you, how do you breathe, right? You go, right.
Yeah.
And so just what you said, breathing down into that bottom part of the lungs literally relaxes us.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Let's talk a moment, because it just seems to me with all the different skills you have, a lot of different ailments that you can help people to heal themselves. So what kind of ailments can people tend to get because of stress? I mean, what How sick can stress make us?
Well, very sick. So 43% of all adults suffer from stress-related ailments. And most doctor's offices.
That's high.
It is, but this is actually more stunning, and I like this fact. Most doctor's office visits, I think it's 75 to 90% or something, are actually related to stress-caused ailments. So how could that be, right?
Yeah,
well,
like for example.
Okay, for example, well, see, let me back up a little bit because
Okay.
I'll explain kind of what. So you have basically two nervous system modes, right? You've probably heard of fight or flight.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you know anything about fight or flight?
Yeah. Now I do, but you articulate it.
Okay. So basically, fight or flight means that we're ready to like respond to a tiger coming to get us, or So what happens physiologically when we are in fight or flight, or in the sympathetic nervous system, is all of our blood rushes to our skeletal muscles, so like to arms and legs to get us ready to run, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then our vision gets more acute and our hearing gets more acute, and so we're ready to respond to this stressor. But what's happening on the other side is that there's no blood in our digestive system. Our liver's not detoxifying. Our hormones are not getting created or circulating. Our breathing is shallow. Basically, all of the detox is not happening, as I mentioned, but also you're not building tissue. So you're not healing yourself. None of that's going on.
Right.
So, but we evolved to be in this mode to get us out of trouble. Like when there's war.
I was going to say it's survival.
Right.
know?
But
Yeah,
how often
yeah.
are we in it now?
Right.
When there's no physiological need, there's no saber-tooth tiger
Right.
coming down me. I'm just in traffic.
It's not like when back in the olden days when we were living out in the wilderness, living under in a tree with a stick
Right.
to go.
Right? Exactly. So what's happened is in modern life, we're in this way too much. We're in it all the time.
Self-induced stress.
Well,
In a way.
how do you mean? Like
I
just
mean,
the way we
well,
respond?
because so much of what I think about are the choices we make. So we talk about like the traffic is crazy. So I'm on I-95 and it's totally crazy traffic, and everybody around me is like screaming at the car in front of them and dashing in and out. And here I am going, the universe gave me a Zen moment.
to practice not being
To
in
just
fight or
be
flight.
present and just go, oh, well, I never noticed that tree because usually when the traffic's flowing, I'm moving and, hey, there's a reason I'm stuck right here. Maybe I'm going to miss an accident up there. But that's just my way of thinking.
That's
But-
excellent.
People around me are like totally stressed out. Totally stressed out.
But what you just did was described a stress management strategy that you have. When you're in total traffic, you try to look at the benefit that could be behind this that you don't know about,
Right.
and you're using it as an opportunity to practice your being present, which is a great strategy.
Right.
The problem is most of us are not doing that. I want to be more like you on that one. And so basically what ends up happening is a bunch of stuff on all levels, right? Physically, we end up with neck and back pain. These are the most common types of
Yes.
stress, right?
This is exactly where it goes.
Right, because we don't say you're a pain in my nostril. We say you're a pain in my neck, right? Or we say you're a pain in my...
Power of the words, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Or we say you're a pain in my...
behind.
Right, and that's lower back pain, right? So
Yeah.
those are the two big spots. We also get headaches, hypertension, because remember what happens when we're getting ready to respond to the stimulus is our heartbeat, everything is jacked up. So we end up with hypertension. Your hormones aren't working, so you can get diabetes, your cycle can get screwed up, and you also get physical psycho symptoms, anxiety. It's very difficult to be calm when you're stressed out all the time. Your hormones aren't working. Your dopamine
Right.
isn't flowing correctly. Your endorphins are just whacked. So
Right.
all of these things can happen. So depression, pain of all kinds, headaches, cycle problems, fibromyalgia, all sorts of things can happen when you're too stressed out. And these are the chronic diseases of our time. Hypertension and diabetes, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking about, I'm going to go back to headaches for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll go back to stress. So one of the things, I'm kind of a boring person in a way, right? I don't do like some of the social things people do for fun. So I don't drink because I just never acquired a taste for alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't do any kind of drugs. I don't do any kind of traditional kind of drugs. So my drug of choice is sugar.
Ah.
And what's interesting is, sometimes if you have a pattern like that, there's something that triggers it, and I've actually studied it. So I can't say it's only when I'm happy, only when I'm sad, only when I'm bored. Who knows when I'm going to fall off the sugar wagon? And I can go long periods of time because I know it's not good for me. It has no positive, there's just nothing good about it. If you ever read the book Sugar Blues, it's like taking cocaine. What sugar can do to your system. But that's what I go to. And so, interestingly enough, sometimes when I stop eating it, if I'm eating for a while, then I go through withdrawal, just like any kind of drug.
Wow.
And one of the things I'll do is get headaches, and the only pressure point acupressure thing that I know, I think now you're going to talk to us about, is this pressure point between your thumb and your first finger, and it's mind-boggling to me. I can't remember who told me years ago that, but if I put pressure here and I breathe, and if I make it even better, if I put peppermint oil on my temples and right here, and then I put pressure here, I'm telling you, my headache literally melts away. I'll do it for other people. They've got a headache. I'm like, come here.
Good.
So can you talk a little bit? I mean, it's fascinating to me how we can put either with the needles or pressure point one place, and it affects some other part of your body. That's fascinating to me.
Well, we have theories in Chinese medicine about meridians and how energy flows in the body, and a lot of these are being studied in different universities. There's a woman named Helen Lagavulin, I believe her name is, and she is studying how basically stimulating tissue down here will affect tissue in the rest of the body and affect physiological change, hormones, pain transmitters, things like that.
Right.
So there's all sorts of theories in the Western sense of why touching something down here will affect a different part of your body. But in Chinese medicine, because we realize that the whole thing is connected, to us it sort of just makes total sense that this point, by the way, this is one of the most powerful points you're talking about. And let's explain, I'll explain for your viewers where it is exactly. Please. So if you put your hand together, I know I'm like whiting out the whole thing here, but if you put your thumb and your first finger together, where it is at the height of this bump. Right, the bump that gets created when you put your thumb. Yeah. So that the height of it, and if you press, open it up and press really hard there, it should feel like an ache.
Yes.
Like a dull ache, and when you press it, you kind of want to get that dull ache. And so,
because I had a question about how hard you're supposed to press it.
Oh, well, you kind of want to feel that it's there, especially since there's no needle there. It's really good to trade people in your life. I had a boyfriend years ago, and I would press this, and I'll watch football. I would trade. Right. Press it really hard. So you work it out, and then whatever. But
compromise, Lisa. Life is about compromise.
So absolutely, it's great that you do it for people. That is a great one. It's really anything in the head, headaches for this one. We also use it for sinus issues. So some sinus issues are headaches, but so this is a really great one. There is another one that relates to the pain in the neck thing I talked about. The best, how people say, "Oh, rub my shoulders," and they come up behind you, and so you can actually find it on yourself. It is at the height of the shoulder here. So I don't know if you can see. So you cross your hand just like you did, and and you make a little hook, right? If you pull it forward, like with your middle finger, if you try carefully, you might be able to feel a sensation in your eye, or go to your ear. If you kind of work around, about half the people that I find this pressure point with will feel that, or it'll go down the shoulder. But basically,
Oh, I feel so good.
And that's right. Can't do both at the same time, but so and it's really that point there. I mean, it's not the whole shoulder as much. It's really this point. So when you pull forward, you kind of get it.
Yeah.
You pull forward.
See, I never knew that. I knew I was going to learn something tonight. Okay, so
and there's a corresponding point to the ones on your hands, on your feet, between the first two digits of your toes as well. And when you press hard there, you also feel that ache. And those are called the 4 gates. And so if somebody comes in, it's like gates of the energy of the whole body. So if somebody comes in so stressed out, I put those in.
No, it's great. So why do you think it is? Because someone told me this a long time ago. For me, peppermint oil is very soothing and relaxing. It really does, well, maybe it's just in my mind, but it really does seem to all work together when I have the aroma of the peppermint and I have the acupuncture here. It just relaxes my whole body. And so there's something about that aroma, and I guess different oils and can affect you.
Absolutely.
Different ways. So.
Yeah. Peppermint is beautiful for headaches. People like to yeah.
So, you know, the body is really quite able to, in so many cases, heal itself, right? We cut ourselves and we heal ourselves.
Yeah.
So, is it that we just get so stressed out that that's when we have to lean to someone like you or to Western medicine because the body has tried to self-heal to the point that it can, but we're like so out of whack, we just have to get some kind of outside help?
I mean, you laugh, but kind of that's how it works. Our body's just not set up to live the way that we live. It's just not set up to be as stationary as we are, to bend forward so much as we do during the day, and not, you know. And what happens is there's like a bunch of reasons why it doesn't heal itself. I'll outline a few of them.
Please, yeah.
One of them is we're stressed out too much. That's like a main one, right? We're in fight or flight way too often, and our body kind of forgets how to be in the other mode: rest, digest, chill out, right? But also, a lot of people don't feed their bodies the right resources. So in terms of diet and sleep, if you run your car without gas, eventually it's going to splutter and die out, right? So our bodies are the same way. It's the right kind of food and the right sleep. We also have sort of assaults in modern life from toxins. Right, things in our food, things in our shampoo, which people think are good for them that aren't, that kind of disrupt their hormones. They're called xenohormones. Things that can cause cancer. So there's all these things that are in our food and our drugs. Obviously, attacks our liver and our kidneys. So there's all these different things that kind of the body, like you said, it kind of goes, we're so messed up, I can't heal anymore. And so you go to a health coach or somebody that does Chinese medicine or some healer that you trust to work through these areas of exposure. Where can I make adjustments to give my body the best chance at healing and health and longevity so I feel really good all the time, or most of the time?
Right. You know, sometimes it just feels so overwhelming because there's so much, there are all these toxins, and what should I eat and what should I not eat? Or, this diet is supposed to work, and now they say it. I mean, I don't really believe in diets. I just believe in lifestyle changes. But you can see how people would just get so overwhelmed that you don't know what to do or what to try. Or what advice would you give people? Just a little step at a time. Maybe part of it is sometimes people jump into something so gung ho, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what that herb means, or I don't know what I should do about this." And what advice would you give people who just are at their wits' end? They want to do something, just baby steps.
I totally feel you. I feel you. It's really hard. It's hard for me because I get news about things and I think, oh, how are we supposed to raise our children in this? This is scary. Right. But what I do and what I advise to try to uplift people to do is to cut their exposures where they can. So I'm never going to live in a cave. For quite some time, I'm going to keep dyeing my hair. That stuff's total poison, right? I'm going to do that. But I've cut out other areas of exposure that I know are problematic, and I'm going to live my life cutting out certain areas, accepting others, trying to give myself the fuel that can fight a lot of these exposures, like certain vegetables that can help, detoxify, for example, and move forward that way and just say, we're doing the best we can. You got to support NGOs that try to get the FDA to do what it's supposed to and label food and get rid of chemicals in products that are known in Europe and disallowed in Europe already to be problems for people. They're a little ahead of us sometimes on the regulation. So supporting via money and information the NGOs like the Environmental Working Group. I don't know if I'm allowed to plug. I'm not really plugging. I have no affiliation with them at all.
Absolutely. Hey, you have a book that's of interest? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I love the Environmental Working Group. They have lists of which foods to stay away from because the pesticides are really heavy, which don't bother buying organic, you're wasting your money, this kind of thing. Which cosmetics are really problematic and would be illegal in Europe, for example, which cosmetics are safe. It's hard, but we're just doing the best we can, and that's all we can do, and being informed. Information is power, It's lots of times if something is filled with things that you can't pronounce, just don't do it.
Right.
These like simple, and I do have some articles on my blog that talk about this because it is a common question. I have a patient right now whose hormones are so messed up, and she uses everything conventional, all sorts of, hormone disrupting products, and I just say, look, start small, start with your food. Right. Start with getting enough sleep. Start with the exercise because actually cardio and working out really helps balance your hormones. And then we'll work on these other things together.
Lisa,
You need help, you know.
Tell people again how they can reach you. I want to make sure we do that again.
I'm at integralbodymindspirit.com. That's my website, and there's a blog on there as well. That's probably the best way.
The blog, good.
Yeah, or Lisa. Lisa at integralbodymindspirit.com.
Go, Lisa.
Yeah.
It's a little bit frustrating and challenging for me because, you go out and you get organic food, which is healthier for you. But organic food can be more expensive. So, we have this whole obesity problem, for example, in our country. And I've seen specials recently because obesity is such an issue about families who would actually like to go out and get healthy food for their kids, but it's really cheaper to spend $2 and get the ramen noodles, and eat that for 3 days than it is to buy the organic fresh food. So part of it is just the way everything's structured. It's not always user-friendly or accessible to everyone. I think it should be equal access to everybody in order to eat healthy and have a healthy lifestyle. And so that can just be a challenge. But you just have to, I can't always buy organic, but when I can, I do. Like you said, you just do what you can.
Do what you can, and you put your energy there. And again, there are lists. Organic broccoli, usually a waste of time and money. But organic grapes, because the Chilean ones often have lots of pesticides, makes sense. So using your knowledge to figure out where to spend the money. And, a lot of times it's related to a lot of things in terms of, people don't want to spend time preparing food anymore. They used to, and things have gotten, so a lot of it's time as well.
I'm just so busy. I'm so busy, and I really do have terrible eating habits. I don't always eat sugar all the time. Sometimes I don't eat it at all, but I'm just on the go so much that I'm like, well, can I rest before I do this next meeting, or do I have to eat? And I'm like, some people love the whole, I'm going to go buy the food for 4 hours, and then I'm going to lovingly wash it. And
who does that?
Cook it. And I'm like, now I got to go buy the food. Then I have to cook the food. Then I have to eat it. Then I have to wash the dishes. But, I do what I can to try to eat as healthy as I can given the crazy busy lifestyle that I have.
It's really hard, but there are sort of small strategies. Throw broccoli on your pizza. You're eating the pizza, but you're getting your broccoli in there. Yeah. And there's small things that you can do. And luckily, farmers markets are really booming. There is a large organic movement that is bringing the cost down because of the more producers, the more economical it can be produced. So support your local people. That are bringing this stuff to you, and it'll be okay.
The other thing I do is, because of my busy lifestyle, so this is really good for me and my boyfriend, so we both get nutrients, I juice. So I'll throw the kale, the cucumber, the carrots, I'll put a banana in there for some texture, some avocado. And it tastes I can feel my body just absorbing it in a good way. People look at it at my office, they're like, oh, because it's a horrible green color. I'm like, don't let the color fool you. It's good for you, and it's delicious. It's like a sponge. My body just absorbs it like a sponge.
Do you use a NutriBullet, or what kind of juicer do you have?
Yes, I have a NutriBullet, which actually we wore one out, so I had to get another one.
Wow.
So it's awesome.
That's a great way to do it.
Yeah, it is. So
one meal, Oh.
Guess what time it is? Our hour's up.
Wow.
That flew by. You were awesome.
So good to see you.
Thank you for sharing all this incredible, wonderful information. Again, you're glowing like earthly angel on the screen. So, but it's almost like that show, The Voice. You don't quite get to see the person, but you get to hear this amazing information. That's what happened with you tonight through the miracle of computer screens. So thank you so much for being on the show. It was delightful, and I'm sure the viewers appreciate all the insight that you have given to us to help us live happier, healthier lives.
My
pleasure. I just appreciate you, and thank you so much.
Thank you as well, Lynette. My pleasure. It was great.
So I want to thank everyone for being on the line tonight. Thanks again for joining me. And remember, life is all about bliss, BLISS. Believe life is something special, because it is, and so are you. And I encourage everyone to take a walk through the landscape of possibility and positivity. I'm sure you're going to like the view. I'll see you again next time right here on The Positivologist is in the House. Namaste.